Hi there, we're just going to do a quick exercise in using another spline up exercise, but this time we're going to use a modifier called the lathe. I'll just show it to you and then we'll deconstruct it. Okay, so basically here we have a line. I've created a line. Really importantly, the line that I've created is a closed object. A closed shape, as I was showing you in the previous video. I'll recap on that in a moment. And I have done an additional thing to this shape. I've gone to this tab here, which is called the Hierarchy tab, and I've clicked the Effect Pivot button. This is really important. The pivot point of this object controls the way that the lathe works. We're going to need to be conscious of that as we're going along. So I modified its position. I moved it. Firstly, I drew it in the front view, and then I modified it so it's pretty much on line with the end point of the shape. When you've done that, turn it off. Okay, and then I used a lathe modifier, and the lathe modifier basically takes your shape and it passes it around, or pushes it around that pivot point 360 degrees, okay, or less, depending on what you want. And there's a few anomalies with this process, but basically it's a very, very useful functioning process. And I was saying to you before that it's important where the pivot point is. Once you have a lathe, the pivot point is referred to as the axis, and by repositioning the axis you will influence the function of the lathe, as you've just seen. So again, it's a very useful modeling tool to make all manner of things, that I don't know, from wine glasses to goblets, and anything basically that has a cylindrical or circular, cylindrical form can be lathed. But you can, that's its point, that's its principle basically. It takes a shape and pushes it around a cylindrical form, around an axis point in effect. Okay, let me start from the top. I reckon I can get this done in under 5 minutes. Here we go. So we'll start in the front viewport, and I'm going to make a little object. So my object is going to be oh, do you know what? I'm going to put my snaps on just while I'm doing it. It makes life a little bit easier. There's my little object. And I'll come out to there, down, and up to about there, across, and there, and I'll just close that. Yep, there we go. It's closed. Sorry, back to that viewport. It's closed object. Now, just look at it in the front viewport one more time. Look at the way the axes are orientated. The y-axis is pointing upwards in this viewport. Now, I'm going to go to my Hierarchy tab, and I'm going to hit Effect Pivot Point, and I'm going to move it to here. Okay. So that's the point at which my lathe is going to spin around. Okay, that's going to be the axis point in effect. So okay, done that. Go back to my lathe. Go back to the modifier list, look for the lathe, and what do you know? As fast as that, you have yourself a very primitive goblet of some sort. Okay, this is very useful because we're just using a line or a spline in effect, we can increase or decrease the amount of polys. By the way, I've activated the number 7 on my keyboard to give you a poly count top left hand corner of your screen, and every time you decrease the segmentation you can see the poly count rising or decreasing depending which way you're going. Okay, so that's 4 minutes and 43 seconds. I have done that. Very last thing is I could go into any of these vertex, select one of them, right click on it, smooth it out, look at my lathe, and the whole thing becomes a different pieced all together. I'm just going to go, I've gone on for 5 minutes, but just give me a sec, I'll just roll with this one last little bit. I'm going to use that show end toggle thing option, and I'm just going to choose that vertex. I'm going to hit smooth, and you can see the whole thing's been smoothed out really nicely. All the while my modelling can be upped or down in terms of poly count really easily. So Alt X to go out of there again. Of course I can move any of these vertex to reform that piece of modelling anytime I want. I can go back in, smooth things out, change the shape of anything, any part of the object if I want to. Right click and smooth. Once I've smoothed it, I've also got the option of choosing once it's been smoothed, you can choose Bezier. That gives you additional options to modify the handles of the curved vertex. So if I right click and choose Bezier, you'll see they've got little handles here, and that gives you further control over the shape of those vertex. Okay, that was fast. 6 minutes. Alright, not bad. You get the point. Okay, enjoy. Bye.